10 mistakes when taking creatine that turn a great supplement into poison for your body. Mistake number 10, expecting immediate results. Creatine is, without a doubt, the most studied and scientifically proven supplement in the history of sports nutrition. Decades of research confirm its effectiveness for increasing strength, power, and hypertrophy. But there is a mistake that causes many people to give up on it before even beginning to reap its benefits: the expectation of instant results. Those who take creatine on Monday expecting to feel stronger on Tuesday will be disappointed, and that disappointment frequently leads to the premature abandonment of a supplement that truly works. Creatine works by saturating the muscle stores of phosphocreatine over time. This process, when done without a loading phase, takes an average of 2 to 4 weeks to reach ideal levels. Even with a loading phase, where higher doses are consumed for 5 to 7 days, the concrete effects on performance begin to appear gradually. What you will notice first is not an explosion of strength overnight, but rather a small improvement in recovery between sets, a slightly greater ability to maintain intensity in the final minutes of a workout, and, over time, more consistent strength progression. Practitioners who understand this mechanism and maintain continuous use for 8 to 12 weeks are the ones who report the most significant results. Abandoning the supplement in the first 2 weeks because you feel nothing is like planting a seed and pulling it out of the ground 3 days later because it has not become a tree yet. Can you imagine the impact that patience and consistency can have on your long-term results? That is exactly the combination that separates those who transform their bodies from those who keep going in circles, switching supplements every month without ever getting anywhere. Let us now move on to the next mistake, which is directly related to the dose you are using. Mistake number 9, getting the dose wrong. Both excess and deficiency can seriously compromise your results with creatine. When the dose is insufficient, muscle stores never reach ideal saturation, and the supplement ends up having minimal or nearly zero effect. When the dose is excessive, the surplus is simply eliminated by the kidneys with no additional benefit, and the unnecessary kidney workload accumulates over time. The standard dose most recommended by the scientific literature for maintenance is 3 to 5 grams per day, which for most people equals approximately 1 level teaspoon. People with greater muscle mass may benefit from doses closer to 5 grams, while smaller individuals generally respond well to 3 grams. There is also the loading phase strategy, where 20 to 25 grams per day are consumed divided into 4 or 5 servings for 5 to 7 days, followed by the maintenance dose. This approach accelerates muscle saturation but is not mandatory. Reaching the same result without it is possible. It just takes more time. The most common mistake observed is people taking 10 grams or more per day, thinking that more is better. It is not. Muscle has a limited capacity to store phosphocreatine, and once saturated, any extra amount is lost in the urine. Beyond the financial waste, chronically high doses can burden the kidneys over the long term, especially in those who already have some predisposition to kidney problems. Now that we have talked about dose, there is a very similar mistake in concept, but one that affects a specific moment in your protocol. Mistake number 8, thinking you do not need to take it on days you do not train. This is one of the most common misunderstandings about creatine, and it silently sabotages the progress of many people. The mistaken logic goes like this: if I am not going to train today, I do not need creatine today. The problem is that this logic completely ignores how creatine works in the body. The goal of the supplement is not to act during training like a pre-workout, but rather to keep muscle phosphocreatine stores permanently elevated. These stores deplete over time if supplementation is interrupted. When you skip rest days, you are essentially creating small gaps in muscle saturation, and over weeks, this can result in stores that are never fully loaded. The drop in muscle creatine levels after total discontinuation takes about 4 to 6 weeks, but small daily inconsistencies already create fluctuations that reduce the efficiency of the supplement. On days without training, the maintenance dose of 3 to 5 grams is still necessary. In fact, some protocols suggest that on rest days, creatine can be taken at any time, since there is no urgency for immediate availability for exercise. Rest is precisely the moment when the muscle is repairing and growing, and having full phosphocreatine stores during that process contributes to better quality recovery. So keep it simple. Take it every day without exception, as part of your routine, whether alongside breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Before we continue, do Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Having constant access to science-based information is what will help you progress with health over the long term in the world of exercise. Mistake number 7, not monitoring side effects. Creatine is widely safe for the vast majority of people when used correctly. This is a fact supported by decades of research and should not be minimized. But widely safe for most people does not mean completely free of effects for everyone under any condition. Ignoring the signals your own body gives during use is a mistake that can turn an effective supplement into a source of discomfort or, in specific cases, a real health problem. The most common side effects, especially in the first weeks of use or during the loading phase with higher doses, include gastrointestinal discomfort such as nausea, mild abdominal cramps, and episodes of diarrhea. These effects tend to occur when high doses are ingested all at once without splitting, or when creatine is consumed on a completely empty stomach. Simply dividing the daily dose into 2 smaller servings or taking it with a meal resolves this problem in most cases without any need to discontinue the supplement. There is also the matter of intramuscular water retention, which is an expected, physiological, and even desirable effect for performance. However, in the first weeks of use, this retention can cause a feeling of heaviness and mild bloating that some people mistakenly interpret as a negative effect, leading them to stop use just when the supplement is beginning to work. It is important to understand that this water accumulation occurs inside the muscle cells, not subcutaneously, as happens with excess sodium or carbohydrates. It is water exactly where it should be. A point that deserves special attention is people with a history of kidney or liver problems. For this group, consulting a doctor before starting use is not optional, it is mandatory. Creatine raises serum creatinine levels, which is a marker widely used by doctors to evaluate kidney function. Those who use creatine and have regular blood tests must absolutely inform their doctor about the supplementation, as creatinine values will be above the laboratory reference range simply due to supplement use and not because of kidney dysfunction. Mistake number 6, not increasing water intake. Creatine has a well-known osmotic property. It draws water into muscle cells. This mechanism is part of the reason it works so well for increasing cell volume, protein synthesis, and performance in high-intensity training. But this same mechanism requires the body to have enough water available to be directed to the muscles. When water intake does not increase alongside the start of supplementation, the body begins redistributing the water it already has. And that is when problems appear. The most common are muscle cramps, especially during training, along with headaches, a dry mouth sensation, and in more intense cases, mild dehydration symptoms, even when the person believes they are drinking enough water. The general recommendation is to increase daily water intake by at least half a liter to 1 liter when starting creatine use. For those who were already training and drinking around 2 liters per day, increasing to 2.5 to 3 liters is a reasonable adjustment. On days of intense training or in hot climates, this need may be even greater. It is worth remembering that adequate hydration not only prevents the discomforts mentioned, but also enhances the very effect of creatine, since a well-hydrated intracellular environment favors all the metabolic processes involved in hypertrophy and muscle recovery. A practical way to monitor hydration is to observe the color of your urine throughout the day. It should be a light, yellow to transparent shade. Very yellow or dark urine is a sign that the body is calling for more water, and during creatine use, this signal needs to be taken even more seriously than usual. Let us now look at a mistake that seems small, but completely changes the result you will get. Mistake number 5, choosing the wrong type of creatine. The supplement market is full of creatine variations with sophisticated names, each one promising to be superior to the last. Creatine ethyl ester, buffered creatine, alkaline creatine, creatine hydrochloride, among others. And the mistake many people make is falling into this marketing trap and choosing a less studied version, thinking they are being smarter. Creatine monohydrate, which is the simplest and cheapest form on the market, is also the most studied and scientifically proven form for efficacy. Decades of research show that it works. Alternative forms emerged with promises of better absorption, less water retention, or fewer gastrointestinal effects. But most of these claims claims do not hold up under well-controlled comparative studies. In terms of practical results for hypertrophy and performance, quality creatine monohydrate remains the gold standard. Choosing a more expensive variant based on marketing without solid scientific evidence will not bring better results. It will simply empty your wallet faster. The only valid exception is for people who genuinely experience persistent gastrointestinal discomfort with monohydrate, where creatine hydrochloride may be an alternative with better tolerability for that specific profile. For everyone else, well-dosed and consistent monohydrate is the smartest choice. Mistake number 4. Choosing low-quality creatine based on price. This mistake complements the previous one but goes in a different direction. While the previous mistake addresses paying more for alternative forms without evidence, this one addresses cutting corners too much on the quality of the creatine. Monohydrate itself. Not all creatine monohydrate is the same. The purity of the product, the absence of contaminants, and the manufacturing process vary greatly between brands, especially when the price is far below market average. The most globally recognized standard for guaranteeing quality and purity in creatine monohydrate is the Creapure certification, a registered German trademark that ensures the product was manufactured with high purity and without contaminants. Creatines without this or an equivalent certification may contain impurities, such as dicyandamide and dihydrotriazine, substances that can cause gastrointestinal discomfort and which, with chronic exposure, raise safety concerns. Additionally, very low-quality products frequently do not deliver the amount of creatine they claim to contain per serving, meaning you are paying for something you are not actually receiving. Researching the origin of the product, verifying whether it has third-party certification, and giving preference to brands that are transparent about their manufacturing process is not excessive. It is the minimum necessary to ensure that what enters your body is what it should be. Now we come to a mistake that directly affects how much creatine is able to work during your training. Mistake number 3. Consuming too much caffeine throughout the day. For many years, the idea circulated in the fitness world that caffeine and creatine should not be combined because caffeine would cancel out the effects of creatine. More recent studies have qualified this claim, showing that the combination is not necessarily problematic when caffeine is consumed in moderation. The critical point, however, lies in excessive caffeine consumption throughout the day, and that is where the real mistake appears. Caffeine in excess has a strong diuretic effect, increasing urine production and accelerating water loss from the body. Since creatine depends on good hydration to exert its osmotic effects on the muscles, a state of dehydration induced by excessive caffeine consumption goes directly against what creatine needs to work well. The practical result is a reduction in the efficiency of the supplement, more cramps, less cell volume, and slower recovery. In addition, caffeine at high doses increases urinary creatinine excretion, which can interfere with muscle creatine retention over the long term. Consuming 2 to 3 cups of coffee per day or a moderate dose of pre-workout with caffeine is not a problem. The mistake lies in accumulating caffeine from multiple sources throughout the day. Coffee in the morning, pre-workout in the afternoon, an energy drink at night, and still taking creatine and expecting maximum results. Mistake number 2, mixing it in protein shakes or hot drinks. Creatine monohydrate is a relatively stable molecule, but it has an important sensitivity to 2 factors: high temperature and acidic conditions. When you dissolve creatine in a protein shake that contains citrus juices, such as lemon or orange, or when you mix it in drinks with a low acidity level, a process called conversion to creatinine begins. Creatinine is an inactive metabolite of creatine, meaning it has no ergogenic effect in the body. You are literally turning active creatine into a byproduct with no function before you even consume it. The same process occurs when creatine is mixed in hot or warm liquids, such as tea or coffee. Heat significantly accelerates this chemical degradation. Practitioners who mix creatine into hot morning coffee or into highly acidic smoothies are potentially wasting a good portion of the supplement they purchased. The solution is simple. Always dissolve creatine in water at room temperature or cold, preferably with a neutral acidity level. If you want to include it in a protein shake, use water as the base and add the other ingredients ingredients without concentrated acidic sources. Creatine can also be taken separately in a simple glass of water, which eliminates any risk of degradation and ensures you are getting the most out of every gram of the supplement. And do you know what the greatest irony in this mistake is? The people who are most concerned with optimization, who research the ideal timing, ideal dose, and ideal type of creatine, are frequently the same ones who throw it all away by mixing the supplement into their hot morning coffee without a second thought. Attention to practical details is often worth more than any advanced strategy. And we have arrived at mistake number 1, the most common of all, and one that most people still make without knowing it. Mistake number 1, taking it on an empty stomach. Taking creatine on an empty stomach seems practical. You wake up, take the creatine, and start your day. The problem is that this seemingly harmless habit can significantly reduce both the absorption and the tolerability of the supplement. From an absorption standpoint, the presence of carbohydrates and protein in food stimulates insulin release, and insulin is one of the main facilitators of creatine transport into muscle cells. Studies show that creatine absorption increases considerably when it is consumed alongside a meal containing medium to high glycemic index carbohydrates. On an empty stomach, this insulin mechanism simply does not occur, and creatine circulates longer in the blood before being absorbed by the muscles, with part of it being excreted before fulfilling its role. From a tolerability standpoint, creatine taken on a completely empty stomach is the primary cause of the gastrointestinal discomfort many people report, including nausea, heartburn, and abdominal discomfort. These effects cause many people to abandon the supplement thinking they cannot tolerate it, when in reality the problem was simply the timing of ingestion. The ideal approach is to consume creatine alongside a meal that contains carbohydrates, such as after breakfast or with lunch. On training days, taking it close to the exercise period, either before or after with a meal, further enhances the results. Small adjustments in the timing of ingestion can make a real difference in the efficiency of a supplement that is already excellent by nature. It is also important to highlight that people with diabetes or those under strict glycemic control should speak with their doctor before adopting the protocol of taking creatine alongside high glycemic index carbohydrates, as this may interfere with glucose management. For most healthy people, however, this strategy is simple, safe, and highly effective. If you also want to discover the potential side effects of creatine, we have a video appearing on screen right now showing each one in more detail. Do not miss it. Thank you for watching all the way through, and may God bless you, my friend.